Welcome back, guys. Today's video is part 1 of making some motor mounts. These motor mounts were originally cut on a plasma table, and seeing the tolerances of the plasma table are not within as accurate of spec that we need for the locating pins, we needed to machine them further. To do so, we are using our Bridgeport machine because it allows us to move the part at multiple axes while drilling. We need to take out our mill end and put in our centering tool to make sure that we are centered over the hole. When the motor mounts were cut, the original holes were an odd size, so we ended up having to use the lathe in order to make a centering tool that fit the hole correctly. Once it's centered, we can put our drill bit back in and drill out the hole. After we drill out the holes on both sides of the motor mount, we take our deburring tool to deburr the holes. This creates a smooth edge. We want to make sure we do this on both sides. On to the next step. Now we are cutting a piece of C-channel that is slightly longer than the measurements between the front and the back motor mount. After that cut's finished, we just take our grinder to smooth out that edge and make it square. We had to use our small air grinder, or what we like to call the cookie wheel, to get in between the C-channel. Our next step is to measure out channels in the motor mounts that the C-channel can sit comfortably in. After those measurements are complete, we take the part to the bandsaw to start cutting out our channels. As you can see, we use one of the previously drilled holes to rotate the part around the blade of the saw in order to make a clean cut around. After the channel is cut, we go on to making a piece that is going to make it possible for the motor mount to still detach from the motor itself. To start this process, we have to drill smaller pilot holes before we can drill larger holes. As you can see in this video, where we started drilling the larger holes after the pilot holes were already drilled. We repeat this step 3 times for all 3 holes. We always like to make sure that our parts have clean edges, so we're using the belt sander in order to do that. Uh-oh, Dad.
What?
This one's a little crooked. After all of that, this is our final product. You can see the C-channel fits into the channel that we created in the motor mount. That side of the motor mount is welded together. That's why we made this separate plate in order to be able to detach the motor mounts from the motor. That plate is also welded to the C-channel, but bolts to the part of the motor mount that bolts to the motor. Make sure you come back next week to see part 2 of this process.